entertaining talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. We're going to have a couple of videos up for you guys today. I'm going to have another video, being that it's such a hot topic, and I know a lot of people like me to share my opinion when it comes to Dave Gettleman. I'm gonna give my opinion, and I'm gonna give my fair and unbiased opinion of where the New York Giants stand right now. Obviously, opinions change over the course of a season, and whether or not I think he will be back with the New York Giants, and the reasoning as to why or why not he will be back, and I'll do my best. All I can do is give you guys my honest opinion, and I will. In terms of this video, I wanted to jump into the whole playoff situation with the New York Giants. In addition to that, I wanted to jump into Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins, of course, right now is the hot story all over the league, and he plays within the division, and he's a quarterback that a lot of New York Giants fans wanted. I'll be the first to say I wanted Josh Allen, but I did have Haskins above Daniel Jones. I liked his upside. Seemed like a guy that could morph into a good quarterback in the NFL, but he seemed like a risk, being that he only had 12 college starts, and there were character issues. Of course, he charged people to go to the draft party. That came out after the fact, and everything else. And since he's been in the league, people have questioned his work ethic. And you knew going into the year that there was some friction between Dwayne Haskins and Ron Rivera. Of course, Ron Rivera was never Haskins' guy. He wasn't here when they drafted Dwayne Haskins, and the Washington football team went into the year saying that Kyle Allen may be the starting quarterback. Of course, he had ties to Ron Rivera. They felt like he fit the scheme better. In the end, they decided not to draft a quarterback, and they decided to start the year with Haskins. And he was shortly benched thereafter. I think when they played the Ravens week 3 or week 4, in which he actually had a pretty good statistical game. I think he threw for over 300 yards, which was the surprising part. Of course, I don't get to watch every Washington game. I'm a New York Giant fan. But, it came out after the fact that Washington decided to move on. And I think a lot of us felt like there was probably more to it than just his play on the field. Then later on in the season, of course, you had the strip club incident, in which Dwayne Haskins, during a pandemic, probably didn't make the wisest of decisions going to a strip club, with 2 or 3 weeks left in the season, potentially risking infecting himself, in which they had a quarterback problem, and potentially infecting his teammates. Which at that point in time, I would have been like, okay, you're cutting Dwayne Haskins. I get it. He obviously is not making the right decisions on the field, and Washington's parting ways. And in no way, shape, or form am I going to criticize Washington for cutting Dwayne Haskins at all. I completely understand it based off everything that's transpired over the course of the year. I am a bit surprised, but maybe there's more to the story, that they would do it this week. With just a week to go in the season before you're playing the biggest game your franchise has had in quite some time. A win or out, a win and you're in, a lose and you're out scenario, that you would do it this week, because you know it's going to gather the headlines. You know it could potentially be a distraction to your football team. So I'm a little bit surprised that they did it this week. And if it assists the New York Giants making the playoffs, I'm all for it. We'll see what Washington decides to do with the quarterback position, and we'll see if Alex Smith is back this week. As far as Haskins' future goes, he was a guy with potential. I mean, you talk to any pro scout, you look at the tape, he had potential. He only had 12 college starts. I thought that Washington rushed him in. But based off the character flaws and his production since he's been in the NFL, and if you look around the league and you look at teams that may need a quarterback, I highly question the possibility of Dwayne Haskins potentially being a starting quarterback in 2021. I don't see it. Do I think a team will give him an opportunity as a backup? Yeah. And do I think he may catch on if he gets lucky and he's in the right situation and maybe somebody gets injured? It's possible, but he's definitely going to have to change his work ethic, and he's definitely going to have to be put in the right situation. Definitely didn't have that with Washington. So we'll have to wait and see how the rest of his career breaks down, but he will no longer be in the NFC East. And I would think at this point in time, it would mean that Washington more than likely will be in the market for a quarterback, whether it be free agency or whether it be the draft. And how they finish the season may have a lot to do with that. If they win the division and get the 19th pick, I would think they probably wouldn't draft a quarterback. Maybe they go out there and sign one. Who knows? Or maybe they stick with Smith for another year. That'll be a big storyline going into 2021. As far as the playoff implications go for the New York Giants, there was a lot at stake here, guys. And I understand both sides of it. And listen, I'm an emotional fan. And when fans come at me at Twitter and they tell me, oh, you're a moron because you want the New York Giants to make the playoffs, I'm going to take offense to that. And maybe I said something on Twitter I shouldn't have said. I basically said, if you're not rooting for the Giants in this situation with the ability to make the playoffs, and if you lose, you allow Dallas to potentially make it, I don't understand how you can be a New York Giants fan. And I regret saying that, because I need to be a man of my word and be consistent. I do consistently say I'm not going to tell people how to root for their team, and I understand all sides of it. I do understand Giants fans looking at the draft chart right now, in which the New York Giants do have the possibility, even though it's not very likely, to pick as high as 3 with a loss, and they pick as low as 19 if they win. I could understand people having the mindset of, well, if they make the playoffs, they're probably going to get knocked out in the first round. They're playing a hot Bucks team, and how does that really help the team's future? Well, my mindset is this. One, I'm a fan. I'm always going to root for my team to win. That's just me. And I respect everybody's opinion, like I said. But two, I do think it is valuable, not just to even make the playoffs, but to be playing in a game like this. So that's why I think it's a benefit to the New York Giants that they are even afforded this opportunity to be able to play in what is essentially a playoff game between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys before we get to see what happens on Sunday night. Just for the growth of what you hope is your future franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones and what you hope is your franchise coach in Joe Judge. I think games like this are important for the growth of a football team. There is a lot at stake. Whether or not we deserve it, that's definitely up for you to, you can definitely say we don't, being that we only have 5 wins, but it's a situation that I never thought the New York Giants would be in entering the season. Hell, if you told me the New York Giants were going to be playing meaningful football in December based off the way the season started and based off my initial expectations going into the year, I would have told you no way. And the Giants, if they win, meet my expectations preseason in terms of wins. I thought I was being a little bit overly optimistic, to be honest with you. Most people had us pegged at 2 or 3 wins based on our schedule, based on the pandemic and everything else and the talent on this roster. But I do think there's reasons to think it's been a successful season and other reasons to think it hasn't been. As far as the Giants go and the way they've played down the stretch and how good of an opportunity do I think the New York Giants have to make the playoffs? Well, let's get one thing out of the way. The only chance we have is the Eagles, when nothing is on the line, have to beat the Washington football team. Now, I do think the Eagles will go out there and try to win because there's a lot at stake. Nobody has any guarantees that they'll be back with the Eagles next year, whether it's the coach, whether it's the players. Jalen Hurts needs to impress going forward to prove he could potentially be a franchise quarterback. So I do think the Eagles, with a lot of guys playing for jobs and things like that and just pride, going up against, one of your rivals in the Washington football team and having the ability to knock them out of the playoffs, are going to give it everything they've got. And the way the Eagles have played down the stretch, excluding this week, I think they have a real opportunity to beat Washington. Washington, to me, they have a good pass rush. And we'll see if Alex Smith starts. That's going to have a lot to do with it, or definitely beatable. But it starts there. And to me, that's almost like a coin flip game. I could see that going either way. And I thought this game would be flexed. I talked about it on Twitter yesterday when I saw that was really the only game on the schedule that was guaranteed where everything would be on the line. Right? The other games you don't know, depending on how other teams play. Washington wins, they're in, loses, they're out. And as a Giants fan, we potentially have the scenario of watching our team play at 1 o'clock and win and have our eyes glued to the television Sunday night with the possibility of making the playoffs where the Philadelphia Eagles win. How crazy is that New York Giants fans will be cheering on the Philadelphia Eagles for an opportunity to make the playoffs? As far as the draft goes, I don't think we'll be picking as low as 3 if we lose. The lowest we could be picking is probably 6 if you're being realistic. I don't see all the teams that are picking ahead of us winning the last week. Probably 6, 7 range if we lose, and everybody in our division, it went our way in terms of the Eagles were able to knock off Washington, and then we would jump those 2 teams in the draft. But I'm not thinking about that personally as a fan. What I'm thinking about is that we have an opportunity to knock Dallas out of the playoffs and to put ourselves in a situation to make the playoffs depending on what happens on Sunday night. I'm going to enjoy it as a fan. And yes, this team has not been playing well. And if they continue to play the way they've been playing, they have no chance to win this football game. Yeah, Daniel Jones played pretty well yesterday, but the special teams continues to be horrid since the bye. The defense looks like they've hit a speed bump since the Seattle game. And if that doesn't improve, we've got no chance. Our wide receivers don't create a lot of separation. And this Dallas offense is starting to click, and the defense has gotten better since we last played them. The last time we played the New York Giants should have won, but this is a different Dallas team. And we'll see how the New York Giants stack up. I'm grateful that we even have this opportunity, and hopefully Joe Judge and Daniel Jones use this as a growth. Hopefully the team grows from it. Hopefully they find a way to win a game in which I think we could win. I don't know if I'm going to pick us. I definitely don't think it's a slam dunk, because right now, if you ask me, I think Dallas is playing the best in this division, but that changes week to week. If you would have told me that 3 weeks ago, I would have said the Giants are playing the best in the division. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out, but it's astounding to me that 6 wins very well may win the NFC East, and it could be the New York Giants. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But as always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.